Welcome back, everybody. I'm really excited to do another video of hidden genres. This one's been on my mind for quite a while, and before we go any further, want to give a huge shout out to all of you for supporting this channel and subscribing, liking the videos, commenting down below. I've loved your comments, honestly. It gets me super excited. It's been an honor and a privilege so far to be able to work on the channel and get so much support and feedback from all of you guys. And I'm hoping I can continue to make quality videos and create, my stories, and as well create videos about stories and storytelling and genres, and even show you guys how I build my own stories. But today, I really wanted to talk about this hidden genre. Now, in terms of hidden genres that I was thinking about, there was one I was going to save for later, but it's been reoccurring in my mind. Dread fantasy. When I started to look into it, originally I was going to do it several weeks ago. But the more I dove into the idea of dread fantasy, the more I felt like I didn't really know what it was, but I could feel it. I could see it. There was something about it. It was there. And the more I dug, the more it began to surface. And I had to take some breaks, but often I find in the creative process, you have to sit back and allow it to simmer. Kind of like when you're cooking, you gotta let the pot do some of the work and allow yourself to just wait. And so I waited. Dread fantasy as a genre is certainly hidden. It's something that's surfaced more around the modern day. I noticed that it has taken place throughout the years, but first, what is dread fantasy? Well, there are four components to dread fantasy. First is the fantasy element. Fantasy being a fantastical genre with things like magic and dragons, monsters and quests, and epic journeys for heroes and villains. But there are other aspects too to dread fantasy, of course. It also has a dark atmosphere, an element of kind of an ambiance of mournfulness, sorrow, despair, and even dread. But the other two are the most key, the most vital. Otherwise, it's just dark fantasy. But I would dare say it goes a step further than dark fantasy. It's adding elements that make it almost slightly very different. Which I know slightly and very are a little different, but it certainly goes into that realm of almost being dark fantasy, but not really. But the other two elements are these. It's often in a setting in this genre to be a fallen and almost apocalyptic world. Almost an apocalyptic fantasy. And the fourth and final element is the most key, the most vital, in my opinion. There is often a rot, a blight, a corruption, some kind of force, whether it's metaphysical and metaphorical, or it's real and physical, like very literal. This corruption spreads across the entirety of the setting of this world. And really, that is dread fantasy. A world in decay, in solemn despair. A world being infected by some terrible, noxious evil. And it's not necessarily pure evil, because it's more of a natural force, but in some cases it kind of is the evil that is transpiring against our protagonist, and is giving power to the antagonist, or really is the antagonist. Now, the examples are kind of what really help to define the genre, and I found actually quite a few. Starting with the ones that are a little more so a part of the genre, to ones that are less associated with the genre but still fit, I would start out with saying Elden Ring is the perfect example. Some other examples include things like Dark Souls, Lords of the Fallen, Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, Bloodborne, the book series Malazan, Book of the Fallen, which is a trilogy, Berserk, Castlevania, The Dark Crystal, Shadow of the Colossus, Behemoth by Skydance, The Neverending Story, Adventure Time, Darkest Dungeon, and the animated film Nausicaa. And like I said, the ones that I mentioned at the end of the list, they kind of fall less so a part of the genre. It's kind of like the good, better, best. Those ones at the end of the list are certainly good examples of the genre. The ones in the middle, like Castlevania, Behemoth, and Shadow of the Colossus, tend to be the better examples. But the ones that are the best are things like the Souls-like games like Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Hollow Knight, Blasphemous. They are like perfect, pure examples of it. These fallen worlds, full of this corruption, this almost sickness, infection, but also worlds that have fallen from the grace that they once had. You look at Elden Ring, looking at the Erd Tree and the lore within that vast game, and I've been studying it, and there's still a lot of terms or terminology that I don't know. But the thing about Elden Ring that's so beautiful, so amazing, is the in-depth lore. And that's also a part of this genre, is that these examples have super in-depth lore. And the biggest thing about them is that, with the example of Elden Ring, is that these worlds, they have so much history. But why is that? Well, it's because you, as the main character, the Tarnished in Elden Ring, look around the world as kind of a character that's walked into a setting that chaos and ruin has already come. The infection and corruption has spread. We're looking at post-apocalyptic world. And this post-apocalyptic world is just utterly in ruins. The gods even are a part of this corruption, decay. They have fallen from grace. The Elden Ring, which is the all-powerful tool that kind of keeps the balance in a way, has been shattered and split. And all of the things that held things together, from the beast men and their temples kind of being shattered and fallen, dragons kind of having lost their power and majesty in society in the world of Elden Ring, all of it are the key components to this genre. And it's sad. You look at everything and you feel this like feeling that everything is far away from you. Everything feels lonely. You're the only one who can stand against all of this. And even though you can find a maiden and become no longer maidenless in the game, there's still that feeling of, wow, I am alone, utterly alone in all of this. The odds seem insurmountable in a lot of these stories that are examples of this genre. Another good example that's more on the good section of the good, better, best list is Neverending Story. The Neverending Story, and in fact I would dare say a lot of 80s fantasy carry a lot of these feelings and some of these themes of this hidden genre. But Neverending Story does a good job at showing not just the corruption and destruction of a world that is fantastical and amazing, and seeing its beauty and wonder be like swallowed up by the evil called the Nothing. But it also does a good job at showing that the main character feels utterly alone. Sebastian, who's reading the book, and then Atreyu, who is in the story and acts as kind of the almost real protagonist, they both feel that sense of loneliness. Sebastian, an outsider in his actual world, in school and in just society, and then Atreyu, who is a character that just feels alone for he's fighting for his tribe. And he loses his horse, Artex, along the way, and then literally every character he seeks to have him help him to be able to find the answers to stopping the Nothing, all kind of do nothing, no pun intended, as he's trying to save the world. And it's almost like nobody cares. And that's kind of what you also notice, is a lot of characters, like in Elden Ring and Dark Souls and a lot of these stories, a lot of them feel indifferent to it. They've kind of accepted their fate and they're like, I give up. There's no point in trying. And it's interesting. A kind of reflection on our own society about things, but I'm not going to go into that too deeply. But I would like to state, this genre heavily reflects a lot of things probably we dread. That's why I call it dread fantasy. Even though it's a beautiful, amazing genre I love to dive into, it's, well, it's sad. It's a sorrowful genre. When you watch and you continue to see how the story unfolds in a lot of these different narratives, one thing is clear. There's not a lot of hope for a lot of people. And that's where we come into the part where, really, what I like about it. What I like about this genre is its element to involve hope as kind of the central theme without you even realizing it. A lot of stories that don't implement hope and it's just despairing and dark, they're good stories, but they're not the ones that stand the test of time as well. They're certainly well known, like George Orwell's 1984. It's not dread fantasy, but it has those elements of dread, corruption, and political upheaval, and like the just feeling of despair. But stories like that are good, and they teach us a great lesson about what could happen if we do nothing. But these other ones teach us there is always hope. Hope in the darkness. Hope in the despair. There is hope in everything. It's the silver lining in this genre that is the most miraculous. And that's why I like it. I think without it, it wouldn't be as interesting. Without the tarnish there, this intriguing character who's thrown into the throes of something insurmountable, or the Belmonts who face against Dracula and the never-ending amount of hordes of monsters and demons and ghosts to fight, which are insurmountable odds because they're just humans. Or with Atreyu and Sebastian fighting against something that is the nothing, that is literally destroying everything and can't be destroyed and no one will help. The odds are ever so insurmountable. In all of these stories, they are insurmountable. Watching videos about Silksong and Hollow Knight have taught me it's kind of the beauty behind it, is this single character. This character who seems as though they shouldn't be able to destroy the evils or threats against them, whether being them themselves being small, or the odds just seeming to be incredibly large. It makes the story all so more palpable. And that's why I love it. And I think that's why we all like it. That hope is what brings the little icing on the cake. So much depth. Without that cream on the top, I don't think it would be quite the same. And it's funny to see that from the 1980s, when it was popular during our times with the dark fantasy genres of the 1980s, like The Neverending Story and The Dark Crystal, all the way to it resurfacing during the early 2000s to the 2010s with things like Demon's Soul and Dark Souls, and then it really making a boom later on in the 2020s with Elden Ring and Hollow Knight and Silksong and Blasphemous. It as a genre has impacted us, and I love it. And I hope you guys take a look at this genre if you haven't already. There's so much to explore, so much depth in all the lore, and best yet, it's a hidden genre starting to surface. My friends, thank you so much for watching this video of hidden genres. I was going to talk a little bit more about the stories that I have created in this genre. In particular, there's one coming up in a couple of months that will be a part of the Tales of the Verse Season 3. And it's a continuation of an episode from Season 1 called Headhunters. It's a little world I've made, and I've become so obsessed with crafting it. So any chance I get to work on it, I get really giddy. But it's a genre that actually fits in. It's a little more apocalyptic than fantasy, but it fits in pretty well, actually. If you are curious about it and want to watch it and listen to it, it's during my days when the story was pretty early, so my writing was still a little like getting worked on. But on the left, you can pick it. It's a really good video to watch. If you like audio immersive stories, I would love the support for my stories, and it's the best way I can tell them right now. And if you want to hear more about hidden genres, I would recommend watching some of these videos. These stories and videos are really great for learning more about genres that are hidden from our modern pop culture, or are videos you've probably seen but haven't even realized it. So give those a look. And if you want to hear more about the Headhunter story, or more about this genre in particular, and want me to craft some stuff in it, give some comments down below. If you like this video, like and subscribe. And as always, my friends, I love you all. Thank you for your support. I'll be seeing you on the other side of the gates.